Hi, and welcome to Deep Leadership. I'm your host, John Rennie. Well, today's guest believes that the AI revolution isn't just about technology, it's about humanity. Dr. Alfredo Borodowski has spent decades helping leaders and organizations perform at their best in times of disruption. In this conversation, we talk about what he calls AI driven anxiety, how leaders can protect the human side of business, and why he says we need to move from a culture of fixing to a culture of nourishing. If you've ever wondered how to lead in the age of AI, this episode is for you. So, are you ready to dive in? Let's get started. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Alfredo Borodowski. Alfredo helps leaders and organizations thrive in disruption. For over 3 decades, he has worked with Fortune 500 companies, elite executive groups, and nonprofit organizations to transform culture, build resilience, and unlock peak performance. He delivers keynotes and workshops to equip leaders to lead and perform with clarity, adaptability, and humanity in the age of artificial intelligence. Now, he believes that AI revolution is not just a technology shift, it is a human challenge, and I'm excited to have him on the show to learn from his expertise. So, Alfredo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here with you and everybody else.
It's so great to have you on the show, and I'm excited to talk to you about your expertise. And we're going to talk about a number of things, but let's just start off a little bit about the statement that I started off in the introduction. I said that AI is a human challenge. So, tell us about that, what it means to be a human challenge, and what do leaders need to consider in this new age of AI?
Well, look at other technological revolutions. Let's begin with the printing, and let's continue with the industrial revolution, steam. Then we can talk about electricity, combustion. All the revolutions, they were tools. They were about actions, about replacing what we do, doing what we do fast, more repetitive, and maybe more efficient way. But the AI revolution is a different one.
Hmm.
It is not about doing, but it's about replicating what makes us human. The steam machine, the electricity could not write a song or a poem.
Hmm.
Then this is a different revolution like never before. It's an infringement not on what we do, but the essence of what is to be human. Is a different ballgame.
Hmm.
AI has rewritten the rules of technology, and that's why we are so excited about it, but also so fearful about it,
Yes.
because we feel that we may become obsolete through that technology or redefine on what is to be human. And I tell you, I am super excited about what is coming, but also at the same time, tentative at what we are becoming.
Hmm.
And that's what I feel at companies. Okay, leaders are torn between the excitement of the new technology and all that can give them, but the human cost in which people feel more insecure, anxious, and depressed.
Hmm.
That's a challenge.
Yeah, and you talk about the idea of AI driven anxiety. So I think, as you mentioned, there's fear of being replaced, fear that, for example, if you're a coder, you're an expert in coding, suddenly now AI can code, or if you're a technical writer, suddenly AI can write technically. So there's a worry that AI could potentially replace you. AI could reduce the need for your services. So how should we be thinking about it as leaders, and how do we help our employees deal with this? I mean, it's a big issue, and there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of uncertainty too.
Well, look, there's going to be a transition,
Hmm.
and some people are going to be left behind, like in any revolution and transition. There are different aspects. First of all, we know from studies that companies feel or think that those who remain, who are not laid off, are going to be great because they're going to be grateful. about being the survivors. And what study shows that in some way that's true. For the first 3 months, they feel happy. It wasn't me. And then there is a crisis and a sudden decline where the paradigm shift into survivor's guilt. And the question is, am I going to be next? And an existential crisis develops, and the company begins going down, efficiency down, morale and loyalty goes down. And what companies do not realize that technological change, shift, transformation must be accompanied with a solid plan on the human aspect of the change. It has to be a solid plan about radical change in corporations. And what I feel is that they ride that dream of people are going to be so happy because they are the chosen one to stay. And doesn't work like that at all, the opposite. And depression and anxiety and uncertainty are at all records, high records, now since the AI has begun.
Yeah, so it seems like it's going to be a major issue. And, one of my fears is that one of the things that we've proven in corporate America with, the idea of, taking care of shareholders, big corporations are going to do whatever it takes to get short-term profits. So if they see a way to eliminate part of their workforce to replace it with AI, they're going to do it in a heartbeat, and without considering the human element of it. I think most companies, they'll outsource. We saw heavy amounts of outsourcing. We've seen call centers being moved overseas, anything to save a dollar and to make short-term profits. And my fear is that the corporations will not put together the human plan for this mass change that's going to happen to their workforce.
Then this is what I will tell you, and I will tell executives. There is no difference between technology and human in terms of performance. You do not take, by the way, companies that invest on the human outperform those who only invest on technology. Then humanity is not being nice. Being nice is part of the bottom line as much as technology. Okay, and I was reading, about the new CEO at Starbucks, what he's going to do next. Very interesting. He realized that one of the mistakes of Starbucks is to have created too many drive-through, because that was a distortion of the original core message of the company, which was Starbucks is the third place.
Yes.
The place between home and work. Then he said, we need to go back to the human and the belonging. Then we are actually, what we're going to do, we are going to reduce the number of drive-thrus. We are going to make our stores bigger again, more comfortable, places to come and friends, to do business, to study. And we are going to go back to the human dimension because that's what is going to be a luxury in the times of AI. We need to understand that the human is going to become a luxury, and what is a luxury and scarce is more valuable. Then companies who invest on the human will have more value than those who only invest on technology. And at equal technology, people are going to choose the company who still have the human touch.
It's interesting you say that, because I do think that we see it even with, so for example, you take furniture. If you have a piece of handmade, handcrafted furniture, it's beautiful and it has flaws, but it's been made by human hands, right? And it sells for a lot more money because it has been made by a craftsman versus something that's made by technology with a machine that's cheap and you can buy it at Walmart and it's not that expensive. But we value things made with a human touch, right? And so what you're saying is when AI, comes to its full, glory, there's going to be a desire for that human element. We're gonna thrive it. We're gonna want that because it's going to be special, and we're going to notice when it exists, right?
More than ever. And if you have a plan for the human touch now and the emotional, you are going to win.
Yeah, yeah.
Technology is an equal opportunity thing in terms that companies can hire the system and incorporate the system, and that's it. The human, that's subtle, that's sophisticated, that's irreplaceable. And the companies who bet on that as they go through transitional technology and adopt technology are going to be the winners. And by the way, that's what positive psychology does, which is the science of flourishing. And study after study is showing that taking care of what is called psychological capital. Psychological capital is made out of 4 capacities: confidence, hope, optimism, and resilience. Study after study shows that companies who invest on those 4 capacities outperform any other company. This is not, John, an issue of me going around companies because I want people to be good. I leave that to religion, maybe to some politicians. As a scientist and a consultant, we know that psychological capital plus strength, character strength, will propel a company beyond what technology alone can be, and it's not technology or profitability. The human is in the DNA of profit. Then you reduce the human through technology and do not upgrade it as you upgrade technology. Even if you have to reduce the human volume, you cannot reduce the human quality, and you will have to invest more as you have a smaller group, fewer employees. You will have to invest more because they're going to have more depression, anxiety, and uncertainty. You want your company to succeed 10 years from now. It is immediate. It's happening now, maybe 5 years from now. There is no time to wait. Then the first thing I do when I go to a company, I do a character strength assessment. Positive psychology discovered 24 character strengths, which are found across cultures and geography and history. Love of learning, leadership, humor, forgiveness, gratitude, curiosity, perseverance are some of them. Optimism and hope, which I mentioned on psychological capital. Everybody has the top 5 of them, of the 24, different top 5. You have your top 5. I have my top 5. They're called character strengths. And when you apply your top 5 strengths, you are more motivated, creatively, empowered, authentic. The crisis here, John, is the studies show that 7 out of 10 people do not know their top character strengths. There is an epidemic of strength blindness in this country. And if you want to be tragic, we know from studies that if you know your character strengths, just knowing them, you have the capacity to flourish 9 times more just by knowing them, John. If you apply them, 18 times more. Which means when you are at work and you enter a room, the chances are that 7 out of 10 people in your workplace are working 9 to 18 times below their capabilities just by not knowing their strengths. Amazing. That's why when people ask me, what do you do, Alfredo? I say, I am an optometrist of corporations. Okay. The first thing I do is a strength assessment, and I make sure that every person in the company know the top 5 strengths. And by the way, it's not a 6-month process. I do this in a workshop of an hour and a half. Everybody will know the top strengths. We are going to have an assessment of the team strengths. And then we are going to work on a dilemma, on a challenge the team has at that moment, applying immediately on a practical way the use of strengths. And the results are magical. People cannot believe it because they have not been using their strengths intentionally. And once they see them, they soar. Then,
So
by the way, that's a solution to AI, by the way. If you have uncertainty, depression, and anxiety, when you know your strengths, you begin the journey there. The reinforcement is like a shield against those feelings.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think one of the things I sense, at least in my 22 years in corporate, is that one of our problems with leadership was people didn't do a very good job in self-assessment, knowing exactly what their strengths and weaknesses were. And so they would they wouldn't lead from their strengths. They would lead, sometimes they would be faking it, but they weren't empathetic, but they tried to fake empathy and everybody could see they were faking it, type of thing. So my question to you is, when you go through this character strength thing exercise, one is there's a self-awareness aspect to it. So you sort of learn some things about yourself through that. But are there certain characteristics that are more beneficial for leadership, or is it that all of them can work towards leadership, but you need to know what they are so that you can apply your strengths properly in a leadership role?
Well, there are 24 strengths, and you're going to get a list once of the top ones all the way to the bottom. But what is interesting, because these are strengths, you're not weak at any of them. You can exercise all of them. This is not about having or not.
Yeah.
It's about preference. It's amazing. Then they are not here, there is no fault, guilt, or blame. It's just preference. Then you can apply the ones who are at the bottom. They are not the more authentic and motivating for you. But also we know from research, and this is new research, that when managers work with somebody, they need to begin the assessment or conversation with strengths and how they applied their strengths last week for winning. You always begin with success, because we know that for every negative feeling, we need 3 good feelings to equate. The negative is stronger than the positive. Then you need to begin with very strong reinforcement of the positive to be able to address anything negative. But we also know, and this is a new study, that by working on a bottom strength, acquire more happiness than by applying the top strength, because there is a feeling of accomplishment. This is a new thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I see that as, for example, if patience is not one of your strong suits, if you become more patient, you feel like you're accomplishing something. You're being more calm, and you're not reacting to things. I can see where that could be. You could see some growth there.
There's a new study, because we positive psychologists like me, we used to say only work on the strengths.
Yeah.
Now we are beginning to shift, because the studies are showing that working on what is less preferred, no weaker, by the way, that's the wrong terminology. The strength you least prefer, because it brings you also tremendous sense of happiness and well-being.
Yeah, I can see where that makes sense. I certainly see where that makes sense. But what if you have, for example, I think you said perseverance is one of the 24, is that right? So I would say I rate very high in perseverance. Like I don't quit. I'm very steadfast, and no matter what comes my way, I sort of steady on. As an entrepreneur for the last 10 years, you have to have perseverance if you want to survive. But I can see where perseverance can be a problem in if you stick with a strategy too long and you don't take that time to say, well, maybe the strategy is wrong. So I'm persevering through, and maybe I should be more open to change. And so can sometimes, well, I guess my question is, can sometimes one of your strengths, do you have to have someone else on the team that maybe has a different set of strengths so that you don't go headlong into a disaster, that I could potentially see that happening.
No doubts that
Yeah.
that's why part of my workshop on strength is overuse and underuse.
Hmm.
And we work around the table cases, situation where people have overused, especially overused, their top strengths.
Yeah.
Okay, then I get a lot. I remember, people talk a lot about there is a lot of honesty on the top five. People may be surprised by that, but for example, people who are too honest,
Hmm.
sometimes they come across as hurtful, too
Yes.
direct. Okay, straight shooters. Okay, and they don't understand that that strength of honesty actually undermines communication.
Yes.
Okay, then that's what I do a lot with my executive coaching, one-on-one with managers of executives, and we do a strength assessment. We work very, very diligently on overuse and underuse because strength had to be used according to context.
Hmm.
They're all contextual. Okay, you have humor as your top strength. It does not work very well at the funeral.
Yes. Yeah.
But you may incline to use it because it's the way you cope with things, situations like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your coping mechanism, because it's when you feel more authentic, motivated, and you are under stress.
Yeah.
Then, but it's the wrong situation. Then I work a lot with leaders about how to use and simulate the use of strengths at different situations, because sometimes if their emotional intelligence is not very, very sharp, then they let their strengths dominate and control them. And they say the wrong thing at the wrong time, with the wrong
Hmm.
tone. And especially today, in the AI times where it's all virtual, then you are on the screen and writing emails and texts. The scrutiny is more than ever. There is less room for overusing.
Yeah.
Then that's very important. Overuse and underuse.
Yeah. I can see that where that can be helpful, especially identifying your strengths and the sort of looking at how you use those strengths. And I think, one of the things that I think about especially with a small company, like I started my company 10 years ago. We're a manufacturing company. I don't have a lot of employees. So I have to make sure that I have skill sets that are complementary, right? So I have to make sure that I've got somebody who's an expert in design, someone who's an expert in manufacturing, someone who's an expert in quality. So I have to make sure I have the right mix of skills and experience. But is it the same thing with strengths? In other words, do I want to make sure that I have the right mix of strengths within my team so that I can maximize the performance? Is that as you work with teams and you do this assessment, and then you sort of compare and contrast the different strengths of the team? Does it is that part of that helps make the team, like maybe we need some more optimism on this team? Everyone's a realist here or something like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking out
Basically,
loud. Yeah.
it's interesting. Every time I go to a corporation or a non-for-profit and I do work with purpose
Yeah.
and positivity and strength, and they look at the group and I do an assessment of the team, always a couple of months later, I get a call from a leader. We are hiring.
Hmm.
We want to bring you to be part of the hiring team process
Ah, okay. Yeah.
because we need a person, and I use the Meyer Briggs. which
Yeah.
is very well known
Yeah.
for personality style. I use the VIA, values in action, for character strengths, and I use the purpose factor for purpose. And I give a full diagnosis based on those three basic elements. You cover everything: personality, character, and purpose.
Mm.
Very comprehensive. And they take it very seriously beyond experience and beyond technical skills. They take my results as very important on the hiring process, to have a team that has all the components that
Yeah.
you need
Yeah.
for success.
Yeah, it's almost like you're bringing science to something that is like sometimes when we're hiring, we're like, we want a good cultural fit. We want someone's going to fit into the culture that we have and that we're trying to build. But what is that? You know, culture can be sometimes a nebulous thing, right? But you're bringing science to
All
that hiring process. So you're,
all proven science, all
yeah,
reliable, valid, scientific. Culture is measurable, culture is clear,
yeah.
values are clear. Okay, if you use the right instruments.
Hmm. So you're not leaving it up to chance because oftentimes our hiring decisions are often somewhat left to chance. We do the best we can to screen candidates, but I don't know what the statistics show, but oftentimes you have a very high failure rate of new candidates that don't really work out.
The most important thing is the person is going to fit the culture and team.
Yes,
And
yes,
that's discover a lot on their character strengths, purpose, and
yeah,
personality.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, you try to do that through interviews, which are important, but today you have the tools. By the way, I interview the people too.
yeah.
Then it's not only I give the instrument, I also conduct an interview to see how they speak, what language they speak,
Okay.
which terminology, which symbols, metaphors,
Mm-hmm.
expressions on their faces, how they deal with emotions is all supremely important, especially on the AI, when the human is a luxury.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
human is going to make the difference.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's such an important message that the human is going to make a difference. I often say that leadership is a people business, and I think our organizations, our plans mean nothing without people, right? Our people bring our plans to life, and so I think that's still going to be the case, even in the age of AI, is that we're still going to need that human element, right?
Yes,
To
what the difference, John, is that today we have science about proving beyond doubt that the human is not in support of the company.
hmm,
Human is part of the performance bottom line results. And you reduce it too much
yeah,
and do not develop it in a certain way,
yeah,
because we know that too, psychological capital. In a certain way, you are not going to get performance. We know today the ways, the tools, the methodology of developing the human capital. By the way, we don't call it human capital anymore. We call it now psychological capital, okay, in the latest, because now we know that it has to do with four characters, as I said: confidence, optimism, hope, and resilience. And for each one of those, there are very defined understandings of what optimism is, hope is, resilience, and confidence. I have workshop for each one of them clearly,
mm,
okay,
mm,
on how to develop it, okay, because they're very precise in science of what developing hope is or resilience to obtain results and performance. But okay, which cannot be achieved by technology, and they need to be alongside technological change for the companies who are going to have the advantage.
yeah, yeah, for sure. As you're talking, I'm thinking about two organizations. You think of two fast food restaurants, McDonald's and Chick-fil-A, right? Both are very large organizations both have similar technologies, right, that they employ to be able to produce the product, but one outperforms the other in terms of sales per store, and that's Chick-fil-A. And they perform better even when they're closed on 1 day a week. And the way they do it is their approach towards people. And they take
Exactly.
a different approach towards people than McDonald's does. And because of that, it's an advantage. And it's not a technological advantage. They have similar technology, but the approach to people is different. So that gives them the edge.
Yes. Chick-fil-A is doing is for a show, by the way.
Mm.
And I think that a better comparison is Chick-fil-A to KFC.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, which KFC basically is at the edge of collapsing,
yeah,
and Chick-fil-A is getting the market, and it has to do with dated symbols, okay, with dated message. Okay, it's either we could spend a full show comparing these two cases, but it comes down, as you said, to connecting with people and providing not good chicken only, but a sense of belonging to something.
yes, yeah, yeah. Which is
Okay,
exactly what Starbucks is talking about, right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
okay, but also it could be done on every company, whatever you do. Okay, whatever you do, there is going to be a distinctive human edge to the process that are going to distinguish companies which are going to profit from human luxury. And I don't want some manipulative. I think that's good too.
Mm.
But what I'm saying that we don't have to sacrifice performance and results for goodness. Goodness and performance and nice actually belong to the same paradigm. That's what we have discovered in the last 10 years.
Well, that's so good to hear because I think the companies that are doing things right and doing things nice are actually performing. We're seeing that as an example with Chick-fil-A. So it's good to see that the research is backing that up as well.
Yes.
So Alfredo, this has been a fantastic discussion. What final message would you like to leave with our listeners about what we talked about today?
Then people ask me, can you summarize your ideas in one sentence? And I have one that has resonates a lot when I use it. We need to move from a culture of fixing to a culture of nourishing.
Mm, yes.
Okay. Since childhood, people have tried to fix us, and we go around the world fixing others. And we think that fixing is growing. Actually, fixing is reestablishing things to the situation before a crisis. Like if I have a bursting pipe, I call the plumber, he fixes the pipe, and the pipe now is the same it used to be. And we call upon leaders to fix situations. What we need is nourishment
Mm.
through strengths, which is about growing, cultivating, gardening. And that's what we need on the AI times, leaders that nourish. Okay, and it feels so good to be a fixer, by the way, because you're a savior. You save the day, and that's what they hire you for. But the companies that are making a big difference are the ones who have mentality of nourishing through strengths and purpose. You know, I have an equation: positive plus purpose equal peak performance. Positive plus purpose, positive meaning character strengths, plus purpose equal peak performance, and I stand by it. I seen it. It comes to those two things for peak performance.
What a great summary of this discussion. And listeners, I hope you picked that up because that's really powerful advice. The idea of nourishing. Are you a nourishing leader or are you just fixing problems, right? Are you helping people grow or are you just helping them or putting them in a position that you want them to be in, your version of them versus their version of what their potential could possibly be? That is a powerful message. Alfredo, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate everything you shared today. How can our listeners find out more about you and your work?
First of all, it would be cruel from my part to leave the program, the show, without telling people how to get their top strengths.
Yes.
That would be really bad, John. Then this is what I'm going to ask your audience. Take your phone. Okay, I give you a second. Take your phone, go to texting, and text the word positive. You already know that that's my word, positive, to the following number, 33777. Very easy. I made it very easy. The word positive to 33777. I'm going to send you a very nice chart with the 24 strengths of positive psychology. And I'm going to send you 3 easy questions for you to determine your top 5 strengths. And then I'm going to give you a couple of exercises that you can choose if you want to move from knowing to applicability, to application, to excel 18 times. I have also there my calendar for those who want for a free just chat, okay, no strings attached. For those who want to know more about what I do, my website is very easy to get to. Again, positive AB, Alfredo Borodowski, then altogether, positiveab.com. There you are going to see all my talks, my workshops. I have an upcoming book, by the way, John, I want to mention it. It's called The Human Upgrade, The New Resilient Leadership for Peak Performance on the AI Revolution.
I love it.
Okay, it's going to be actually published by the John Maxwell.
Oh, fantastic.
Publishing house. Okay, that's going to come out on January.
Okay.
Hopefully. Then maybe I see you again around that time.
Absolutely.
But you know, that's also for those who are interested, that's going to be announced on my website. And you know, and I'm going to have a campaign, but it's all about this. Positive psychology applied to how leaders should talk today, how to craft a message using positive psychology that diminishes anxiety, uncertainty, and depression. Which language is, you know, going to go through technical things, stuff, the latest scientific work, and exercises at the end, and workshops that people can conduct at their places. I am excited about this, as you can see.
Yes, you are. And I think it's really important. And I appreciate all the work that you're doing. So we've got to put the links in the show notes for all of Alfredo's resources. And again, I'll repeat that if you text the word positive to 3377, you're going to get
33777, 3 sevens.
Oh, sorry, 33777. See, our listeners probably are yelling at the speaker right now. You got it wrong. 33777. If you text the word positive to that number, you're going to get a guide that's going to help you find your strengths, your top 5 strengths. And I think that's something great. And you know, on this show, we love free stuff. This is a free thing that we're giving you. So go ahead and do that. See what you come out. And then again, if you've got questions, I highly encourage you to reach out to Alfredo. He's the expert here. My job here is just to introduce you to people who are experts. He's the expert. Reach out to him if something that you've heard today really stood out to you and something you want to explore deeper in your organization. I highly encourage you to reach out to Alfredo. He's the guy that's going to help you understand it better. We've just touched on a little bit of the subject on this half hour, but he knows this stuff a lot more, and he's going to help your organization get better. So I highly encourage you to reach out to him. So Alfredo, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for bringing your expertise to the show and helping us understand a little bit more about how to deal with the future that we're about to face.
Okay, thank you. Good night to everybody, listening here from New York on a rainy night. But I love doing this, and thank you for the opportunity to just get the message across. I am on a quest. Everybody should know their top strengths is right, okay? Don't go through life below what you can achieve.
I love it. Great message. Alfredo, thanks again. Well, that is it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Rennie saying take care and lead well.